What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode. Coach Joe here with Heartletics.com. And today is actually going to be our first annual, I don't know, we might do it multiple times per year, depending on, how much fun we're going to have today. Our donut eating competition. This is going to be a lot of fun. This is where we're going to be diving into who could reign supreme. I already know it's going to be me. I'm not going to accept defeat on this one, but we're going to be reigning in on who could smash 6 glazed donuts the fastest. The winner is going to get $50. Unless I'm the winner, then John is going to be taking me on a trip to Italy. We already talked about that's already happened. But also a Heartletics t-shirt. But before we get started with that, because this is going to be a fun little episode, let's talk a little bit about why we're doing this. So we're all health and fitness coaches. We've been doing this for years, helping guys burn body fat. And somebody from the outside might be looking in and saying to themselves, like, what gives? All these guys are, all these guys are trying to burn body fat, but here are the coaches, telling them all eat donuts. What is that all about? And there's some underlying factors and some golden nuggets that everybody want to know about when it comes down to burning body fat. Because think about it. The New Year's are coming up. 2023 is going to be here in a few short weeks. And most guys typically go to Google, they go to YouTube, figuring out what is the best diets. And we've all tried to experience and figure out, what are these different diets? And we fall, getting into the trick of, man, this might be the best thing, the shiny object syndrome, because we're seeing results instantly. And I know that happened for me. I did a ketogenic diet and I did a strict keto diet. I don't mean just like cutting out carbs. I mean, like legit 75% of my daily calories were coming from fats, 20% coming from protein, 5% coming from carbs that were just like vegetables and veggies, anything with a lot of fiber in it. And I was peeing on those little ketone strips just to make sure I was in ketosis. And I did that like strict, and the worst part that happened during that is like, yeah, I got shredded. Like, yeah, I lost some weight. It was great, but it was just the mindset of having an unhealthy relationship with food. Like donuts, for example. I'm wearing a donut shirt right now. Thank you, Brian Malcolm, for this, by the way. Like, it was one of those things where it was hard to fit it into my lifestyle. It was hard to go out to eat with my wife. It was just hard to really fit it in. But most importantly, it was, once again, having an unhealthy relationship with food, to where if I ever, let's say, got stressed and, ate something that was higher in carbs, the next day I just felt so guilty. And maybe I would try to not eat anything to kind of outdo the balance, or, whatever the case may be. It just kind of left that mark to where I realized here that it doesn't have to be that hard, and it shouldn't be a chore, if that makes sense. It shouldn't be a punishment just to burn body fat. And that's why we obviously at Heartletics talk about these 7 essential fat loss habits for success. And if you're somebody that's listening on the outside, we have a whole free fat loss guide over at heartletics.com that you guys can simply download, as well as a free training that goes to it. And I feel like, after you guys hear a little bit from these other guys, it's going to be talking about their experiences when it comes to doing different diets. It's going to hopefully make you guys have a better relationship when it comes down to food, and plus learning how to create sustainable habits when it comes down to burning body fat. I also want to say, hey, we got a new coach in the room, Coach Brett. He's actually going to be our mindset coach, which I think I'm more excited than you are, Brett, honestly. Your mindset is on fire, brother. And why don't you share a little bit about, what you've tried before in the past before having success with Heartletics?
Yeah, of course. I've tried a lot of things, and I'm not going to talk about all of them, because then, we'll take the whole hour up, because I've tried a lot. Nutrisystem, Weight Watchers, Whole30, try and do MyFitnessPal. I think there was like a Chris Powell like macros thing. I don't know. I mean, there's so many different things, and they all shared one thing. They all sucked. Like, so I could be mentally strong on any one of those things for a while, call it a month, maybe call it 2 months. And it was an everyday freaking struggle to just be like, can't eat this, you can't eat that, right? So I want to talk about Whole30 a little bit, because that was a real hot trending fad diet. I honestly believe that the creator of it originally tried to make it an elimination diet to figure out what you might be allergic to with what you're eating. But then people tried it and lost weight. And now then it became a weight loss fad. And what it was you pretty much could, and I'm not going to remember everything because it was over 5 years ago. You couldn't eat dairy, you couldn't eat anything processed, you couldn't have any sugar, zero alcohol, like nothing. Like every single day you were fruits, vegetables, and meats, but I think some of the meats were eliminated too. I can't remember. So every day you were seriously like just eliminating so many things out of your diet, that it was really hard. I mean, I had to do company gatherings or Christmas parties and without drinking, and I would trick myself. I'd get soda water with the lime, right? So I felt like I was drinking like a vodka soda or something, which is fine. But you can't do that as a lifestyle, right? Like maybe someone can, maybe some rarely unique individual can live like that, but I don't imagine anyone on this call could live like that and be happy. Freaking miserable. So the reason why I think that it's important, the reason why Heartletics style works is you're really not eliminating anything, right? You're trying to you're trying to hit your macros right. You're trying to watch your calories right, but you need to learn to be able to accept the fact that, hey, it's Thanksgiving, right? I might just eat a little bit more. I might have this or I might have that and enjoy it, right? And not feel guilty like you've been talking about. Because when you eliminate everything for so long, you are testing your willpower every single freaking day. And there's going to be days or times where that willpower just isn't strong enough, right? So anyway, that was my experience with Whole30. You're supposed to do it for 30 days. And if you mess up at all, you start back at day one.
Oh, wow.
And my wife and I did it, and I think we made it to like day 27. And we were in the Keys, and we rented a boat, and we pulled up to some like dockside restaurant, and we went off. Like fried shrimp and not 10 beers, but like it felt like 10 like drinking, eating like avocados and spinach artichoke dip and dessert afterwards. We went off. So that was enjoyable.
To go with what you said about going off. So like it's the same thing, right? We're gonna have this donut eating competition, right? And this is my favorite food. And I always talk about it where it's just like when you cut something out, like sure, anybody can do it when life is easy, but it's when life throws you the curveballs. But it's almost just like you can't just have one donut, right? It's going to turn into 2, 3, 4, 5, and the next thing you know, it's the whole dozen because you've deprived yourself from it for so long to where it's just like, man, it's just like that binge factor. And then what happens? The next day you feel miserable, you feel guilty. Mark, what about you, brother? What any kind of different things that you tried doing before in the past before Heartletics that you want to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've tried a lot of stuff. This has been an ongoing battle for me for pretty much my whole life until I found Heartletics, and that's because nothing until Heartletics was what I call sustainable. When you have to eliminate something completely, or if you're like, for example, I did Nutrisystem at one point. And I'm not going to say I didn't lose weight. I don't know if it was fat or water or what. I did lose weight, but you're eating their prepackaged food, right? Which A is awful, and B, that's not like teaching you anything. You're not learning how to sustain that. You're just eating what they give you, and then by the time you get tired of that food, which will happen because you can't live on that, you haven't learned how to eat, and then you just go right back to where you were before. And then, like most recently before Heartletics, I was doing Slim Fast, and talk about like, the swings, because it's supposed to be like, you have 2 shakes and then a what do they call it? Acceptable dinner or, so by the time dinner rolls around, you're like starving.
What's an acceptable dinner?
It's not the right word. Like it was like 2 shakes and then a reasonable dinner, right? Like something that wasn't like 8 million, But the time dinner rolls around, you're starving. So it's like really hard to eat a reasonable dinner because you're famished. And then you go back into that guilt cycle that you were talking about, because now you eat too much at dinner. And then the next day you're going back to like, okay, I'm going to just stick to my 2 shakes and then have my reasonable dinner. And then you're starving again. And it really develops like this relationship with food, which is like, don't eat all day. And then what happens at night? How can I stop myself? As opposed to like Heartletics, where I'm eating like throughout the day normal foods that I enjoy, just knowing the right ways to eat them, the right combinations of foods, the right amounts to make it, sustainable, enjoyable, right? Because I'm eating things I love and still progressing. So, Heartletics doesn't kind of derail you from your relationship with food. It's a normal way of eating that is, something that works for you, as opposed to some of these other things where, it's like I always tell the clients when I'm speaking with them, if it's not sustainable, there's no point. If you have to cut stuff out completely, that stuff that you enjoy, you're never going to stick with that because you're depriving yourself of part of life that you enjoy. So, what is the value in that? So like this teaches you how to incorporate those things in a way that works and still gives you the progress. And because of that, you don't develop that unhealthy relationship with the food.
Yeah, and I think what you said that was really good was it doesn't teach you anything back when you try like the Slim Fast, and like that's the biggest thing about Heartletics is not just giving somebody a fish, but really teaching somebody how to fish. Why? Well, at the end of the day, let's face it, we're all trying to become better leaders, right? And we all typically have, families, right? And it's just like you want to learn how to eat properly so that way you can also teach that knowledge that you learned, right, to your kids. So that way they grew up with having a healthy relationship with food. And Jimmy, that's one of the reasons why you got signed up for Heartletics, right? Was to create better habits.
Yeah, absolutely. That was my main purpose originally, is to teach my family better habits, be a better example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before Heartletics, what did you try?
Well, just like Mark and Brett, I tried a lot of things, but I'll talk about intermittent fasting because that's what I was doing right before Heartletics. So everyone knows what intermittent fasting is. You give yourself a window to eat. Some people do 6 hours, some people do 8, some people do 12. The way I did it was probably not the best way. I did it like I just ate one time a day at night. So I wouldn't eat anything all day. I would drink black coffee, water, and then I would at dinner time, I'd go, I'd smash something, I'd eat. But I still probably was not getting the amount of calories that I needed in one meal. So yeah, I lost weight. And I thought it was great because I could still eat, stuff I like to eat, and lose weight. But there was a point there where I stopped losing weight, and it just stopped being sustainable as far as, when you don't eat all day, that you can't do that all the time.
Yeah.
So I just gained the weight back. And that's pretty much what happened with every diet I ever tried. So basically I failed at those diets. So I needed something to where it could be a lifestyle, and Heartletics was it, and not only that, I think the biggest thing is we're all going to have times where we have a day where we're just smashing food. I mean, we have a bad day, or Thanksgiving, like last week. How many of us here went over our calories on Thanksgiving? How many of us here felt guilty the next day? No, I mean, and before, you change that mindset. Like you said before, Coach Joe, you have a day like that, you're done. Like, okay, I might as well just stop now. And then you eat like that every day because you figure you failed again. But now it's like, okay, I had a day, whatever. I know what to do. I have the knowledge. I just go back on track the next day, and it's not a thing. So it's not even a worry anymore. I think that's the biggest part.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And Coach Brian, you tried multiple things under the sun as well, What about your experience,
Yeah, I like all the other coaches, I've tried multiple different things, a lot of the same things, the ideal protein, Nutrisystem. I did a keto. I didn't pee on the strips and go as deep dive as you did, but I was heavy into keto, cut carbs completely. And man, they all worked. Every single one of them, you shed a bunch of weight real quickly. And then that day that you want to have, you fall off the wagon and you have some carbs, or you get away from that prepackaged meal and you splurge a little bit, and then you feel so guilty, or you just fall off the wagon completely. And you're like, the heck with this, because it's such a burden. Those programs, I found out, do nothing more but manipulate they're not really a diet program they manipulate the scale, they manipulate what you understand or don't understand about food. They're not teaching you anything about how to eat, what a lot of y'all touched on, how to eat for your goals and how to build healthy habits. And one other thing that really stuck out with each of those programs, and some of y'all touched on it, if you have a family and you want to impart some healthy habits to the family, what are you teaching your kids, and what kind of example are you setting if dad is sitting there at the dinner table with his Nutrisystem meal or his little bit of meat and no potatoes and whatever else, and I think you've mentioned, Joe, having a birthday with your kid and you can't have cake because daddy's on a diet. You're not setting a good example, and that to me was the biggest non-sustainable factor, because you're not eating the same thing that your family's eating. Your kids don't understand what's going on. You're not bringing your wife along in that same process. None of that is sustainable. Heartletics absolutely took that and flipped it on its head. And I learned exactly how I needed to eat. I was able to take all the same meals that we ate as a family, tweak them a little bit, cut fat out of them, add protein to those, and the whole family from day one has eaten the same thing. All that we sit at the dinner table and we're all eating a Heartletics protein packed meal. I mean, how can you not sustain that? How can you not love that? And we're all active together. Like I say, it flipped my way of thinking about food and my relationship with food, and how we can all continue to make this a lifestyle. Flipped it on its head.
I remember, Brian, our discovery call, right? And I remember two things specifically, right? We were talking about keto. And I remember when I told you, right, that just cutting out carbs is just like losing water weight. And there's a big difference between fat loss and weight loss. But then also it's about the sustainability for someone's lifestyle. Because remember, before you had that rotating swing shift, man. Like that was like very hard to figure out how to incorporate a plan that was specifically for, your lifestyle.
No doubt.
Coach Mike, I'm gonna unmute you, brother. What about you, man? What your experience kind of like before Heartletics? What have you tried?
Well, mine's like some of the other guys. I didn't do a whole lot of things. I tried Slim Fast. The biggest one was intermittent fasting and pretty much starving myself. I would eat one meal a day, and I would have maybe like a Carnation instant breakfast for breakfast, then dinner, and that'd be all I'd eat. It wasn't doing anything. My energy levels went so far down. I just didn't want to do anything. I'd come home from work. I'd sit on the couch. Didn't want to do nothing. Anything with families, something like that. I just didn't have the energy to do it. When I found Heartletics and actually learned the way to eat and the proteins and stuff like that and how it all works, it made the biggest difference. I have two 11-year-old boys. I have a 1-year-old granddaughter behind me, and having the energy to be able to play with them and keep up with them is the best, and that's what it's all about. But those other ones just weren't sustainable. I mean, not eating the stuff I want, feeling guilty if I decide to have a cupcake or some cake or something like that, just feeling guilty about it. Like today, I'm getting ready to smash 6 donuts. That's all right. That's going to fuel my leg workout this afternoon. So
thank you. Thank you. I love that. I love that.
And I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I'm going to use that to fuel my workout and get right back on track and go on. And it's what Heartletics is about, and teaching you sustainable habits. And like Brian said, my whole family eats this way. We make the meals, we all eat them, and my boys love it and everything like that. So it's been great.
I love that, man. I love how you also said about fueling your workout, because that's the mindset shift that I want everybody to understand. It's like, yeah, you're going to have your bad days, right? 365 days in a year, right? And if let's just say just round up between holidays, birthdays, special occasions, cheat meals, whatever the case may be, let's just say 65 days. Well, hey, as long as you're feeding the good wolf 300 days, that's still a really good year. And plus, it's that mindset of instead of, okay, let's try to burn off the calories by doing a whole bunch of cardio. It's like, hey, let's utilize that calories, fuel it for a workout, get a great workout in, you know, as you mentioned with the leg day. I love that. Before we go to Brian Malcolm, Jeremy, what about you, brother? Before you know, we go to him, what about you before Heartletics and then kind of like your experience now?
And before Heartletics, the thing I was on right whenever I started talking to you was Herbalife. And, you know, it's just like Slim Fast. You're going to do 2 shakes a day, sensible meal at night, but there's no value behind it. The only value coming out is out of your pocket. And if I took the money that I invested in them over a year, I could have done Heartletics 3 times, because you're spending hundreds of dollars a month to do that, plus buy your family meals. And I really didn't, it was successful, but it wasn't as successful as I am now. And there was no education behind it. I mean, just like today, when I smash these 6 donuts and beat you, I'm going to be 693 calories over my 1900. I don't care. I'm still going to have dinner tonight with my family.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the gym later. I'm going to squeeze in another workout just because I can today. I got the day off and it's something I want to do. There's no guilt behind this. Before, if I stepped off, I mean, those target carbs that I had to have, this, that, and the other, the guilt hit me. And it was like, man, I might as well just give up because I can't do this. And it doesn't matter how strong a mindset you have. Once you become unhappy with what you're doing, you're not going to sustain it. And with Heartletics, I have never been freaking happy.
Yeah, I like what you also said about just like it almost becoming like a habit, right? It needs to, so that way you're not feeling guilty. I mean, we talk about all the time, you know, where everybody has these goals. Everybody wants to burn body fat and look a certain way and lose X amount of weight, right? But at the end of the day, you know, what we, Mark, you know, everybody's just trying to do is get you guys focused on your daily habits. Because instead of you having such a bad day and then, you know, throwing in the white towel and just falling off the wagon and going back to your old ways, it's like, hey, it's just one bad day. The next day, let's just get right back on track. And you mentioned about, hey, you got the time, you're going to get a workout in, but most importantly, you're not going to feel guilty.
And I learned how to protein spare in the morning and protein load to help fight these donuts as I smash.
Yes. Hey, and speaking about that, so if anybody's listening, you know, either here on the podcast or tuning in later on the replay, guys, we did a holiday special where we talk all about a different strategy when it comes to eating the foods that you want and fitting it in. And highly recommend that. Just go to YouTube or just go to the podcast, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, and just type in like our holiday special. It's a really good one. There's a PowerPoint presentation where, you know, Jeremy mentioned about the protein sparing approach where it works out. Trust me. Brian Malcolm, I'm gonna unmute you real quick, brother. And I want you to kind of share with everybody a little bit before Heartletics and then your experience now, but pause before you do that. Once again, man, thank you so much for the tank top. If anybody can see this, check out my
dude.
Sure. Today's the donut challenge. So thank you, bro.
So thank you. So yeah, my journey, it kind of started actually in high school, actually. I went to, my mom sent me with this personal trainer guy, and he said the first thing he told me my sophomore year in high school playing basketball, you're a carbohydrate addict. So we started this whole low carb journey as a sophomore in high school. Fast forward, I turned 21. I now gained basically 100 pounds since my sophomore year in high school. So now I weigh 270. So then I hear about Atkins. So I do Atkins and I lose a bunch of weight in a few months. But I'm obviously a terrible relationship with food. It's basically never really any meals, just snacks and just eating meat basically. And I kind of just always did my own thing. So basically my entire adult life, I've struggled with my weight. I've always been overweight. Never found anything that I could, no one ever really taught me like how to eat properly until I joined Heartletics. I mean, I even went to a doctor where they were giving me pills, phentermine. They had me on phentermine and on 1900 calorie diet, trying to work out. And I was almost passing out during my workouts. I mean, it was crazy because they didn't know like, oh, because everybody that went there wasn't working out. They were just there to lose weight. So I'm here in the gym doing Olympic style lifting and I'm like almost passing out in my workouts. Oh, like you just need to add more calories, but they never explained to me why. Well, Heartletics teaches you like, hey, you have to eat calories in order to be able to do stuff. You can't just walk around with no calories because then like Coach Joe taught us, you end up gaining weight when you lose your muscle. So that's what I was doing. I was basically just losing all of my muscle and gaining fat. And it was very difficult. I basically got to a point where I realized all the money I spent through my whole life in diets and stuff, they're all cookie cutter. They don't work. I still didn't understand how to eat properly. So I said, I need to actually just learn this stuff. And that's why I signed up with Heartletics.
Yeah.
It's the best decision I've ever made.
I love that, brother. Thank you for sharing. And yeah,
Yeah.
you're figuring out something that works for you. I mean, I'm Italian, right? Like my family hated me when I did keto. Like you can't just go Sunday pasta and not eat pasta. Disrespectful.
Absolutely.
You mentioned though, Brian, about like going to see a doctor and all that stuff. And I'm gonna unmute Mike Berry. So Mike, real quick, man, I want to ask you, brother, because I see you on here. When you went to go see the doctor, did they tell you anything about the type 2 diabetes and how to reverse it and how to get off of it? You might have to unmute yourself. Muted, Mike.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, they just wanted to give me medicine. They didn't want to cure me. They just wanted to doctor me. So I keep spending that money on the pharmaceutical stuff. They just told me that my A1C was 10.6 and that it would take at least it would take 2 to 5 years to get over diabetes if I became a vegetarian and take weekly injections.
Isn't that like, I don't know. I feel like, because you live in Texas, right? I feel like you just can't do that living in Texas. You can't be a vegetarian living in Texas. I feel like that's just doesn't make sense, man.
No, I flat told him. I said, if you're telling me, he told me flat out, he said, look, vegetarians live on average 15 years longer than meat eaters. And I said, 15 miserable years with no bacon? I would rather die.
So what happens next, man? Tell everybody the story.
So I dove in. I'm not a workout guy because honestly, I just figured it out recently. It hurts me to work out the way I was set up because I have 3 different types of arthritis. So my problem is my body can do more in my hands, but I dove headfirst into the nutrition. Just follow whatever nutrition macronutrients you put me on. Now I went in. It was 5 weeks later when I joined Heartletics after I went to the doctor and got all that bad news. And then 7 weeks in, they ran my blood. My A1C went from 10.6 to 6.0. I no longer had high blood pressure. I no longer had high cholesterol, no longer had high triglycerides. And they were shocked. And the doctor flat asked me, he said, hey, did you switch over to vegetarian? I said, absolutely not. I ate bacon and eggs every day of the week. So I invited him over for breakfast.
I love it. And it just goes to show kind of just like the knowledge, right? And that's what we're all trying to do here, guys, as coaches, is to provide that. Now, with that being said, let's all have some fun. So, a lot of people tune in today because they want to see this donut eating challenge, all right?
Let's go, boys.
I got, let me unmute John because I know he's going to be talking some mess here when he loses.
So much mess.
Bro, you're not beating me. So look, we got Jimmy, we got John, we got Mark, we got Mike, we got Jeremy. Anybody else bring their donuts, or is that it?
Brian, where you at, man?
I'm applauding.
I know they sell donuts in Alaska. What happened?
Oh, Chad got called out.
Oh, Chad, I'm disappointed, my friend.
All right, so let's do this,
Hey,
guys.
I'm being good.
He's watching his figure.
Let's Brian, do you mind being the judge?
I don't at all.
All right, so are you watching this on Gallery View? You see everybody, right?
I do. Is there a way for me to?
No, I'm just making
those
sure
people
you can
together?
see everybody, because I want you to be able to see like whoever puts their hands up first, right? And like it's clear like that there's an undeciding factor on who the winner is. Okay.
Who else? Okay, we got Jeremy, Mark. I'm dragging these people up close to one another.
Yeah, so me, Jimmy, John, Mark, Mike, and Jeremy.
Ryan, I got a bottle of Top Shelf up here, brother.
Oh. he's bribing the judge already. Where's John? I've got him up top. Okay.
All right. So let us know when you're good, Brian, and then I will give a rundown.
Oh my gosh.
There's a lot of pressure, Brian. There's a lot of pressure on this one.
Hey, I'll keep my eyes open too, Coach Brian. I'll try.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Brett.
I got you too, Brian.
Need all the help. So it's
Yes.
Blaze Donuts. Okay.
And I'm just basically want to see who does this the quickest, the sixth.
Who can
So I
do
don't
it?
need a time or
I'm
anything.
gonna set mine up like this, so that way you guys can see, right? I want to see the mouth to donut ratio, right? No cheating. Right? Actually, let me take off the weathering before this swells up. Okay. Hold on, just make sure. Jimmy, are you ready? Mark, are you
Yep.
ready? Mike, John, are you ready to lose?
Born ready.
Okay, Brian, give us the countdown, man. 5, 4, just give it to us, okay?
All righty, y'all ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, eat.
Oh, man. Coach Joe, you better hurry up. John's got you, man.
Did he already eat one already?
Dude, he's
on his
down to
second.
3.
He's combining these together. That's unfair.
Anybody's
Smash.
not named Jer-
That's
anybody's
Stack
not
and
technique.
named
smash,
Jeremy
stack and
dead.
smash.
See who's a professional here.
Mark,
Yeah,
are you
Jeremy's
even
the
in this or
winner.
you
Jeremy is
just
too.
enjoying, brother?
Oh, boy, Jeremy's crushing it.
Jeremy's
Legend is going
with,
after it.
protein drink.
Oh my gosh. Stack and smash.
Yeah, Jeremy's killing it.
Oh, John Boy coming in the stretch.
Yeah, he is. He's getting down.
Yeah, he is.
A little muscle milk between two donuts. That's a good call, Jeremy.
Oh my gosh. Mark is just making fun of y'all. He savored one donut. He's like, ha, look at y'all goofball.
I've got one left.
I think Mark saw the competition and thought, huh.
John
Man.
Boy.
John, the winner.
John,
John.
Oh, John, the winner.
Oh, don't
What did I tell you, Coach Joe?
He's
Don't
done.
let me
Swallow. He's
win.
got to swallow. He's going to
Come
throw
on,
up.
Coach, ain't done yet.
Oh. Wait, what
How
happened?
do you do that, John?
he
He
ain't
can't
swallowed
talk
yet.
yet.
Jeremy's
Bro,
done.
how did you do that? Like, I'm literally like, I still have 3 left.
It's John.
Wow.
No Italy for you, Coach Joe.
Yeah.
I am so impressed right now. Like, that's
Hey, we don't
Did I tell you,
accidentally
Coach
get
Joe?
big
Did you
down
see
here in
that
the
look in
South.
John's eye? Did you see the look in his eye this morning? Come on.
you didn't want to
That's
pay for
Tiger,
my
man.
trip to Italy. That's
I
what it
told
was.
y'all. I told y'all.
You are the
Y'all
man.
ain't geeking up into the South to hang with me and donuts.
Yeah, hey, look, Jeremy was maybe a couple of chews and swallow behind you, brother. Not far. Not far
How
at
many
all.
did you get?
Me?
Yeah, how many did you finish?
Oh,
Yeah,
he
I
was
was-
like
I had-
15
He was-
seconds
he's done.
behind.
Two
You buy
chews.
left.
You guys are
He
killers.
was like 15 seconds behind John.
Hey, y'all look, Mark,
Hey, you ain't
what's your
thirsty,
donuts look
laugh.
like? Y'all look at Mark's donuts, man. He's
Yeah,
still
Mark,
he's
how
got
many you got left?
wrinkles and
Okay. Oh, man.
Body rules.
Mike, how many
You
did
ain't
you
thirsty,
Mike,
laugh.
how'd you do?
I got 3.5 done. Well, actually, about 4.5.
Okay, so you beat me. Did I get this?
I was
Jimmy,
doing
what about
3
you,
at a
Jimmy?
time.
Mark's
got-
got
You're not the
I only
donut
got-
kind of
I got
wrinkles, but I had
you were.
zero plan of eating all of
Way
them.
too much talking. Jimmy, how many did you get?
3.
Coach Brian,
3.
I
you'll
got-
notice 3 of them are strawberry. That's what
I
my
said-
kids like.
Plan for that. All right. Well, I guess John, you got yourself $50 in a Heartletics t-shirt coming your way, man.
Nice.
Is there
Like
any,
I said, I like brighter colors.
as we close up the podcast today, man, is there anybody that you want to give a special shout out to and thank? Because apparently, man, like you're a monster. That's all I gotta say.
Special shout out to Shipley's Donuts, Divine Donuts.
All his sponsors.
Yeah. They've been sponsoring this for years. If I invested in Divine instead of eating Divine and Little Debbie, I'd be a millionaire by now.
I love it. Oh man. Well, guys, that has been the end to probably the funnest podcast ever. And for everybody that's tuning in, or watching this later on the replay, even though we're all having some fun, smash some donuts, really take a listen into, what we all kind of expressed about trying different things before in the past that just wasn't really sustainable. We all kind of came together here to figure out what are some sustainable habits that we all can implement in somebody's own unique lifestyle. And if you guys want any tips and tricks on how to do that, like I said, we have a free fat loss guide over at heartletics.com, plus a free fat loss tutorial video going over those 7 essential fat loss habits for success. As always, guys, hey, it is Flex Friday. Why don't we show everybody the guns instead of doing the Peace Out Girl Scout? Let's just show the muscles, you know? It's donut fueled muscles for today. I love it. As always, guys, peace out, Girl Scouts. See you guys in the next episode.